I still remember the taste of the coffee that morning. Bitter, burned, like the day itself. My suitcase stood by the door, zipped and ready. My flight was in 5 hours. My heart felt like a heavy rock inside my chest. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. And then I heard his voice. "Emma, don't go." I turned around slowly. James stood there, holding something in his hand, a letter. His eyes were red, not from anger, from crying. "Please," he said, "read this before you leave." I wanted to run. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to scream. But I did nothing. I just nodded and took the letter. My fingers shook as I opened it. This wasn't how I planned to leave, but maybe, deep down, I never planned to leave at all. Let me tell you how I got there. Maybe you'll understand. 2 years earlier, I had a dream bigger than anything I ever wanted. I wanted to become a lead designer at Draxwell, one of the top fashion companies in New York. And I was so close. All I needed was one project to go right. One big win. At the same time, James came into my life. He wasn't part of the plan. He wasn't fashion or fast or famous. He was calm, real. He taught high school literature and spent weekends fixing up old furniture. He wore the same boots every winter. He didn't care about labels or lights, but somehow he saw me, really saw me, in a way that no one ever had. I remember the first night we stayed up talking. We sat on the rooftop of my apartment, drinking hot chocolate and sharing childhood stories. He told me about the time he got lost in the woods as a kid. I told him how I used to draw dresses on napkins while waiting for my mom to finish work. "You were always designing," he said, smiling. "Even back then. We weren't perfect. We had fights. I worked late hours. He missed dinners. I wanted to travel. He wanted a quiet life. But somehow we always found our way back to each other. Until the job offer came. Draxwell sent me an email. They had seen my latest designs. They wanted me in New York, full-time, starting in 3 weeks. I couldn't believe it. This was what I worked for, what I dreamed of. I ran to tell James. He smiled at first. "That's amazing, Em," he said, hugging me. But then his smile faded. "So you'd move to New York?" I nodded. "It's a big step, I know, but maybe you could come with me." He looked down. "I can't just leave my students, or my dad. You know he's still recovering from surgery." There was silence. I hated that silence more than any fight we ever had. "I thought we were building something here," he said quietly. I tried to explain. "This doesn't mean I don't love you, but this is my dream." "And what about us?" he asked. That question stayed with me. It haunted me every night after that. What about us? Over the next few weeks, I packed boxes and signed papers. I smiled at people and said I was excited, but inside I felt like I was breaking. James and I didn't talk much. We became strangers in the same city. He didn't come to my goodbye party. I told everyone he was busy, but the truth was, I didn't invite him. I was scared of seeing him, scared of feeling too much. The night before my flight, I walked through the park where we had our first date. The bench we sat on was still there. I sat down and looked at the sky. I whispered to myself, "You made your choice. It's too late now." but it didn't feel like a choice. It felt like a loss. That morning, when James showed up with a letter, everything inside me cracked. I opened it. His handwriting was shaky, like he had written it in a rush. Emma, I didn't know how to say this to your face. Maybe I'm a coward. Maybe I just didn't want to cry in front of you. I'm proud of you, truly. You worked hard for this. You deserve it. But I need to tell you something before you go. I never asked you to stay. I never said, don't go, until now, because I love you and I think you love me too. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe your dream really is bigger than us. But if there's even one small part of you that wants to stay, I'll be right here, waiting. Just say the word. James. I finished reading and I didn't know what to say. My suitcase was still by the door. The cab was probably on its way. My future, everything I thought I wanted, was just a few hours away. But then I looked at James. His eyes weren't asking, they were hoping. And inside me, something moved, something deep. I had to make a choice, a real one. Love or career? Was it really one or the other? I picked up my phone. I dialed, but who I called might surprise you. I dialed my boss's number. My hands were shaking. Emma? She answered, sounding surprised. Is everything okay? There was a long pause before I could speak. I need one more day. One day? She asked. Yes, just 24 hours. Please, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying yes. I just need to breathe. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, all right, call me tomorrow. But we're moving fast, Emma. If you're not on the flight tomorrow night, we'll have to offer it to someone else. I said thank you, hung up, and looked at James. I didn't say no, I told him. I didn't expect you to, he said softly. I didn't unpack. I didn't decide anything right then, but I stayed for one more day. That day was like something out of a dream. We walked to our favorite cafe, the same one where he first asked me if I believed in soulmates. I laughed then. I thought it was a silly question. Now I wasn't so sure. He ordered my usual. I smiled because he still remembered. We didn't talk about the job or the future. We just talked about books, about food, about that stupid raccoon that used to knock over our trash cans. Then we walked along the river. It was cold, but I didn't mind. I felt warm with him beside me, safe, like I could just be myself. No title, no awards, no big city dreams, just me. Do you ever think we met too early? I asked. He looked at me. No, I think we met exactly when we needed to. I nodded, but inside my heart was still at war. Because love was here, but my dream was calling too. That night I went back to my apartment alone. My suitcase still waited by the door. The ticket was still in my email. I opened it. Just one click, and it would all be confirmed. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I opened a blank page and started writing a letter. Just like James had done. Not to him, to myself. Dear Emma, you've worked so hard. Don't forget that. You've cried, failed, tried again. You've designed things that no one believed in, except you. This dream, it's real, it matters, but love matters too. And the truth is, you're afraid. Not just of losing James, but of losing yourself. You think you have to choose, but maybe life isn't about choosing one thing forever. Maybe it's about making the right choice now, in this moment. So what does your heart say? Not your fear, not your pride, your heart. Me, I closed my laptop and sat there in the dark. My heart was loud. I could feel it in my chest. I knew what I wanted, at least for now. So I made a new plan. The next morning, I went to James's house. He opened the door, still half asleep, hair messy, wearing that old t-shirt he always wore when grading papers. I made a decision, I said. His face changed. He looked scared to ask. I'm not going to New York, I said. He blinked. You're not? I shook my head. Not yet anyway. He stepped aside and let me in. I called them this morning, told them I couldn't take the job right now, but I'd be open to freelance projects, remote work, smaller pieces. They didn't love it, but they didn't say no. And that's what you want? He asked. No, I said. It's not what I thought I wanted, but maybe it's what I need right now. He looked at me like he didn't quite believe it, like he was afraid I'd change my mind. Why? He asked. Why are you staying? Because I love you, I said, and because I don't want to run after a dream if it means leaving my heart behind. That month was hard, I won't lie. Saying no to Draxwell felt like breaking a promise to myself. But something else happened. I started working with smaller clients, local brands. My designs were still mine, but I had more freedom. And James and I, well, we started over. No pressure, no big plans. Just one day at a time. We had dinner together most nights. We read poetry in bed. We took long drives with no destination. And slowly the guilt faded, the fear faded, and something stronger grew in its place. Peace. Then, 2 months later, I got an email from a boutique fashion house in Paris. They had seen my work online. They wanted to fly me out for a meeting, not a job, not a full move, just a conversation. I showed the email to James. He smiled. That's amazing. I haven't said yes, I told him. He touched my hand. Say yes and go. I'll be right here. I looked at him. Really looked at him, and I knew. He wasn't holding me back. He was giving me wings. But before I booked the ticket, I asked him one thing. Would you ever come with me? Just for a while? He looked at me, surprised. I thought you wanted to go alone. I used to, I said. Now I'm not so sure. He laughed. You want me in Paris? I nodded. Maybe not forever, but for now, if you want to. He didn't answer right away. Then he said, let me check with my principal. And just like that, we were dreaming together. But something happened just a few days before the trip. Something that changed everything again. It started with a phone call. James's father had fallen badly. And what came after? None of us were ready for. The phone rang early in the morning. I could tell by James's face that something was wrong. It was his dad. He had fallen while getting out of bed and couldn't move his legs. The doctors said it was a spinal injury, serious. They weren't sure if he'd walk again. James's world stopped, and so did mine. The trip to Paris was just 5 days away. But James needed to stay. He didn't even need to say it. I already knew. I saw it in his eyes. He was trying to stay strong, but he was breaking inside. That night, I held him as he cried. Not loudly, just quiet, broken tears. I should be there for him, he whispered. You will be, I said. We didn't talk about Paris. We didn't talk about anything beyond tomorrow. And deep down, I think we both knew things were about to change. The next morning, I sat in the kitchen with a cup of cold coffee in my hands. I looked at my email. The flight was still booked. The hotel, the meeting, all set. But how could I go now? I looked at James, sleeping on the couch, exhausted. He had stayed up all night at the hospital. And I thought again about love and dreams. Sometimes we think life gives us one big moment, one chance to choose. But really, life is full of moments and choices, one after the other. So I made another one. I sent an email to the Paris company. I told them I still wanted to meet, but by video. I asked for more time. I explained without too much detail that someone I love was going through something serious. I didn't know what they'd say, but I clicked send. Then I walked over to James and sat beside him. I'm not going, I said. He sat up fast. Emma, no, you have to go. This is your dream. I took his hand, and you're part of that dream now. But what if they change their minds? He asked. Then it wasn't the right time, or the right people. I smiled gently. But I'm not missing this moment with you. He didn't say anything. He just pulled me close. And in that silence, I felt more certain than I ever had before. The Paris company didn't say no. In fact, they were kind. They offered to reschedule the meeting. They said family comes first. They respected that. And that small act, kindness from strangers, gave me hope. Maybe I didn't have to chase everything with fire and fear. Maybe some dreams waited for the right time. James's father spent 3 weeks in the hospital. Then he came home in a wheelchair. At first, James tried to do everything: cook, clean, drive, care. But he was tired and sad and frustrated. So I stepped in. I cooked with his dad, who had a surprising love for Italian food. I sat with him during therapy. I learned how to help without making him feel helpless. And through that, something changed in me. I stopped rushing. I started listening to him, to James, to myself. One afternoon, James and I sat on the porch watching the sun go down. I used to think love meant sacrifice, I said, like giving up what you want. He looked at me. And now? Now I think it means sharing it, all of it, the good, the hard, the scary. He smiled. You're amazing, you know that? I laughed. I'm not. I'm just finally learning who I am. And that's when he reached into his pocket. At first, I thought it was a joke, a key or a note, but it was a ring. Simple, gold, beautiful. I didn't plan this, he said. I was going to wait, but I don't want to wait anymore. He took a deep breath. Emma, will you marry me? I couldn't speak, not because I was unsure, but because my heart was too full. I nodded. Then I whispered, yes, and everything felt right, not perfect, not easy, but right. We got married in a small garden behind the cafe where we had our first date, only close friends. His dad in the front row, smiling through tears. I wore a dress I designed myself. He wore his old boots, and it was enough, more than enough. Today, as I sit here telling you this story, I still design. Not for big cities or giant runways, but for people I care about. For stories I want to tell with fabric and color. I still dream, but now I dream with someone beside me. And I've learned something important. Dreams don't always come true the way you imagine. Sometimes they come slower, softer, more real. And sometimes the biggest dream is not a job or a title. It's a life shared. So let me ask you, if you had to choose between the thing you always wanted and the person who always believed in you, what would you do? Let me know in the comments. I'd really love to hear your story. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe for more.